So what do you think the future of Indian dining is here in the UK? Because we've had Indian food as part of, as I said, it's become so part of the culture that there are dishes that are now more British than they are
Correct.
Indian, made of Indian ingredients using Indian techniques. What's the future? Now we've come to, as you said, when you got your Michelin star, we've come to understand that Indian can be fine dining and that it can be very refined in terms of the way it's presented, both as ingredients, in the setting, in the whole experience.
I think
What's the future?
I think my approach when I moved to London was to focus on authenticity of flavor, but using the best local ingredients that we have. So we had dishes on our menu that would be alien to an Indian restaurant menu in India. Dishes like scallops, jandori. That was the best local produce we were using, and marrying it with a marinade or a paste or or an ingredient that gave it that traditional aspect. I think what I would like to see as the future of Indian food in this country, and by saying that I mean I consider London to be at the very forefront of where Indian cuisine is headed, and long may that continue. But where I would like it to head is to bridge that gap between that ancient knowledge that we had of the curative properties of our food with this whole access to fantastic ingredients that we have in London, and almost be the kind of medium that is able to promote food as a means of well-being, lifestyle. That's what I would really like to see. I think almost going back in time to the time of what is the very core that we can take out of the science of Ayurveda, apply that to what we do today, and to all the technology available to us. Can we be in a position where Indian becomes the
healthy
go-to healthy food,
the medicinal food,
which I think for me would be the biggest success, because the one perception I've had to battle in the UK from day one was largely negative perceptions associated with this great cuisine that was much enjoyed, but they would largely say, "Oh, it's too strong for lunch. I can't have Indian for lunch. I can't. It's too heavy. I might fall asleep in the afternoon. I have an important meeting. I can't do Indian for lunch." So heavy, greasy, oily, spicy, these were the kind of largely negative connotations to a cuisine that they actually loved. And for me, I think
it's considered a bit of a kind of indulgent food, I guess, right? I think if you just look at the general kind of in the UK, if maybe general perception, I guess I'd never thought about that, whether people would, because you're right, I guess when people are thinking about lunch or lighter meals,
there are certainly other cuisines that are perceived to be lighter. Japanese, of course, ticks all the boxes for lunch. But I think for me, as a chef, the challenge was to take on those perceptions and turn them around. How could a land that invented Ayurveda and yoga be associated with all negative connotations in its food? Whereas historically, the cuisine of our land was based on its medicinal properties, eating local, eating seasonal, all the buzzwords of today. Who would have thought yoga and Ayurveda are going to be so fashionable now? And yet this is ancient knowledge. We are talking 6,000 BC, I think. That's an insane time.
That qualifies as being ancient.
Yes. So certainly to see those negative perceptions turned around on their head.
And do you think that's happening? I think that's happening, is it not?
I think for sure. The very fact that you have a turmeric latte in Starbucks today is a step in the right direction for me, certainly.
In the terms of it being very mainstream, that's interesting.
And also the shift from a generic curry house across the length and the breadth of the country, all their menus would be exactly the same. We've been moving now towards digging a little deeper under the water of that iceberg that you can see as Indian cuisine, and going into a better understanding of regional cuisines, appreciating the subtle differences in how spices are used across the different regions of India.